Namaskar and a very warm welcome to the 58th edition of Water Talk organized by National Water Mission Ministry of Jal Shakti Government of India. वाटर टॉक नेशनल वाटर मिशन की एक पहल है ताकि इस कार्यक्रम से जुड़े सभी लोग जल और जल संसाधनों से जुड़े संरक्षण के विभिन्न प्रयासों से अवगत हो सकें। इस प्रयास इन प्रयासों को और इन सभी होने वाले सराहनीय कार्यों से हम प्रेरित हो सकें और अपनी जिम्मेदारी निभा
Mute.
सकें, अपनी जन भागीदारी इसमें दर्ज करवा सकें। In short, we leverage this platform to engage in meaningful discussions that aid water resource management. इसी दिशा में अगर हम बात करें तो जल समृद्ध भारत के सपने को साकार करने की तरफ जितने भी कदम उठाए जा रहे हैं उनमें से प्रभावी जल प्रबंधन के तरीकों की पहचान कर उन्हें उपयोग में लाना बहुत आवश्यक है। हमारी सरकार और विभिन्न वाटर सेक्टर के स्टेक होल्डर्स इस दिशा में काम कर रहे हैं। पर जब बात करते हैं हम लघु जल निकायों की, जैसे तालाब, पोखर, ये सब भारत में लंबे समय से जल की आवश्यकता को समर्थन दे रहे हैं। परंतु बढ़ता प्रदूषण, सही रखरखाव की कमी, अर्बनाइजेशन एंड इंडस्ट्रियलाइजेशन के कारणों से यह लघु जल निकाय लुप्त होते जा रहे हैं। इसी दिशा में आज समृद्ध भारत, जल समृद्ध भारत के इस क्षेत्र में हम बहुत ही महत्वपूर्ण विषय पर जुड़ेंगे और बात करेंगे वाटर बॉडी रिजुविनेशन के बारे में। पर उससे पहले हमारे साथ जुड़ी हैं खास मेहमान मिस अर्चना वर्मा मैम। मैम मिशन डायरेक्टर है नेशनल वाटर मिशन, मिनिस्ट्री ऑफ जल शक्ति, गवर्नमेंट ऑफ इंडिया। मैम आपका बहुत बहुत स्वागत है हमारे साथ जुड़ने के लिए और आपके मार्गदर्शन में जो ये मुहिम आगे बढ़ाया जा रहा है इसके लिए आपका बहुत बहुत आभार। साथ ही हमारे साथ जुड़े हैं प्रियांशु कुमार जी, जो कि फाउंडर एंड सीईओ हैं क्लीन वाटर के। इनका उद्देश्य है वाटर बॉडीज का रिजुविनेशन। सिर्फ रिजुविनेशन ही नहीं, इनका विशेष ध्यान है वाटर क्वालिटी इंप्रूवमेंट पे, जो कि एक सस्टेनेबल भारत के सपने को साकार करने के लिए बहुत आवश्यक है। हम शुरू करें इससे पहले मैं चाहूंगी अर्चना वर्मा मैम आपसे कि हम जाने कि ये वाटर बॉडी रिजुविनेशन का क्या महत्व है एक जल समृद्ध भारत के सपने को साकार करने के लिए। प्लीज प्रकाश डालिए मैम।
On कर दो. Thank you, Arpita, and welcome, Priyanshu.
Thank you, ma'am.
Arpita, yeah, hi. Arpita, as I always say, that, we can live without love, but we cannot live without water. So, water is not only a product of nature, it is life itself. 71% of the earth is water. 70% of our body is water. And therefore, it is very essential that we treat this precious resource and give it the dignity that it deserves. Our ancestors, in the during the Rigved times, used to call water as waters. Never took the name in singular. It was always plural because of the fact of the deep interconnectedness that our civilization has had with water. We have seen that, during the course of our civilization, numerous water heritage structures have been made, which has withstood the test of times and is still working. So the aim of the National Water Mission, especially through its flagship of Jal Shakti Abhiyan Catch the Rain campaign, is to ensure that, we not only go for these mega structures, which take time and money to construct, and then, their maintenance is also an issue, but we harness the wisdom of our ancestors. We go for local solutions, we go for low cost solutions, we engage with the community for conservation of water. And here, the role of the water bodies become very important because since time immemorial, these water bodies like our lakes, ponds, tanks have served as not only a source of water for us humans but also as a source of water for the whole of ecology, for our ecosystem, for our rivers, for our flora and fauna, for the biodiversity itself. So they are one of the most important constituent of the water structures that we have, especially the wetlands, because we're going to talk, Priyanshu is going to talk about the wetlands. They have given an invaluable service to people and the ecology by nourishing water and making water locally available. But with the passage of time, with the growing industrialization, urbanization, what has happened is that these water bodies have come under a lot of stress also due to encroachments. So under the National Water Mission with its flagship the Jal Shakti Abhiyan, Catch the Rain, what we are uh, looking at is construction of these water body structures, rejuvenation of these water bodies through community action, through ownership of the communities, through operation and maintenance by the communities, be it the urban or the rural local body, be it the panchayats, the NGOs, whoever. Because even maintenance of these water bodies is important, and also to prevent any further re-encroachment of the water bodies. In this regard, the National Water Mission has taken two very important steps. One is the publication of the District Water Body Atlas, in which we have identified some of the 150 water stressed districts, and we have developed in collaboration with NWIC District Water Body Atlas, which presently gives the surface area and the chlorophyll content of the water. So it is designed to make it as a decision support system for our district administrators, for our municipal corporations, so that but we are further fine tuning to ensure that, the districts and the municipal corporations at the click of their finger can see which water body is in stress in their area. So that is something on which we are working. Currently, we have it in hard copies and we have circulated to the identified water stress districts under the Jal Shakti Abhiyan. Second, what the ministry has done is, for the first time in the history of the Ministry of Jal Shakti, we've come out with the water body census by the MI section of the ministry, minor irrigation section, which hitherto used to only do MI census, but last to last year, it came out with the first water body census of India, and this is going to be something which is going to be an ongoing exercise in which we have identified about 25 lakh water bodies, which under the Jal Shakti Abhiyan and also under in collaboration with NWIC, we have geotagged and put it as our Jal Dharohar portal, which is still in beta version. So at the click of a button, you can identify where these 25 lakh water bodies are. Uh, However, to make it a decision support system, we need to further fine tune it, and we are in collaboration with the NWIC, wanting to make a decentralized decision support system in which the district authorities, the municipal authorities, the state authorities, at the click of a button, can know which is the water body at risk. Now, one of the interesting findings of this water body census is that 50% of our water bodies are ponds, and 50% of these are in the private sector. So, that is another challenge as to how to involve the private sector or the communities, especially to, ensured that the water body, like in Assam, we have a lot of small, small ponds attached to each household. In West Bengal, it has been found to be maximum. So, so that it is not disturbed, and at the same time, it provides some kind of livelihood for the person who owns that water body. So, West Bengal has taken a very interesting, experiment on using its water users association for developing water bodies in which fishery and other livelihood means can also be practiced. So it is to ensure that these water bodies are not filled up by the private owners. So the first step is that we are identifying geotagging, and we have a lot of data. I'm not saying that the whole data is correct, and 25 may be just a small number, it may be much more, but this is what the 24 point something lakh, which the first water body census has captured. uh, s- Third is we are converging with everybody, be it the state government, with NGOs, with industrial associations, under the Jal Shakti Catch the Rain Abhiyan, in trying to recharge, restore the water bodies. And I'm happy to report that till date, since 2019, we have been able to reconstruct, rejuvenate water structures, which don't only include water bodies, to the tune of 1.64 crores. And we have been able to, because the catchment area forestation is also very important for the water bodies. We have been able to, under the Jal Shakti Abhiyan, plant around 139 crore saplings since the start of the mission, and we are doing it without any money from the National Water Mission. It is all through the efforts of our field warriors, like the DMs, municipal commissioners, the state nodal officers, the NGOs, the industries, the even private people, communities, panchayats, and it is a remarkable program because we are intensifying community action without spending any money from the National Water Mission, which goes on to show that if there's a will, and will of the people to conserve water. We have so many water warriors, and especially women are coming and, preserving these water bodies in many areas. And our this year's campaign theme was also Nari Shakti Se Jal Shakti. And we have seen so many water warriors. Many of them attended the Republic Day program, which has been conceived by Honorable PM as an idea to honor people who are really working at the grassroots. So the enthusiasm of these water warriors really energizes us, and it gives us great hope that slowly the conversation about water being a precious resource, not to be wasted, not to be encroached, and to find low cost solutions and nature based solutions, which I hope Priyanshu will throw more light on, cost effective solutions, and but most important, Jan Bhagidari and community engagement for water preservation and water conservation, and equal distribution. So that is what I would like to say on the water bodies, and I would love to hear more from Priyanshu Kumath. So over to you, Arpita.
Thank you so much, ma'am. I would take a moment to welcome Mr. Seturaman sir. He's the Chief Engineer, Directorate of Rural Development and Panchayati Raj, Government of Tamil Nadu. Though sir has kept his mic video off, but his insights will be really helpful for us to further know about the water body rejuvenation thing. But I would like to welcome Priyanshu ji again. And his vast experience in rejuvenating water bodies is what we are looking to listen today. And as ma'am said, if there is a will, water can be saved. And how Priyanshuji is utilizing technology in improving water quality and rejuvenating water bodies at the same time will be the key highlight of this discussion. Over to you, Priyanshuji. We are eagerly waiting for you to take over and let us know about rejuvenating water bodies.
I will just switch off my video for some time while I'm here. I'll be working on some draft, so I'll just switch off my video for some time. But I'll be listening to you, Priyanshu.
Sure. No problem, ma'am. And thank you so much for setting the wonderful context today. I think you mentioned about the wonderful work that has kind of been happening in the past few years. And for example, the water body census conducted just 2 years back for the first time in India is a very welcome step, because what it gives us is it gives us the data. Like you mentioned, the government of India has identified 24 lakh stagnant water bodies in India. The flowing ones, the streams, nalas, drains, rivers are separate. The stagnant ones are 24 lakh, just the lakes, ponds, tanks, and reservoirs. And that's a great place to start with, right? You mentioned 50% of them are government owned, 50% of them are private owned. Another data from that census is that 97% of them are in rural areas, only 3% are in urban areas. And what often gets the most attention
I
is
think,
the,
Priyanshu,
yeah,
I think the urban area data has not been as well captured as the rural area. So I'm sure there are more than, the
97.
97.3 is not the real percentage, but we are working on improving that data quality.
Okay, got it.
Hmm.
All right, but at least the point I wanted to make here was at least we've started gathering data. Now that we have a data of almost every stagnant water body in India, can we actually build on it? We can start measuring water quality there. What's the current status? Is it encroached or not? And what this data kind of helps us now systematically address the problem, because these water bodies could be now kind of, from a management perspective, we broken down it at a state level, district level, and the responsibilities could be given to each level. So that's a very welcome step. And the other events happening across the country through Swachh Bharat Mission, Amrit, the National Water Mission, etc., have been really welcome, particularly working or towards groundwater recharge and water quantity as well. What my talk today is going to be is more about the water quality aspect. So while we need to address the water scarcity problem, gather as much water as we can in our lakes, ponds, rivers, and actually do as much of groundwater recharge as we can, it is equally important that we cater to water quality as well. Uh, I'm sure that everybody here on the call today would have, at some point in their life, dreamt of an ideal house, right? Which is a near a water body. Remember that childhood painting? But living near water bodies today is so far from that dream, right? The water bodies are often polluted, and so the birds. So in that childhood painting, we would remember that there are fishes in the water, birds in the air, cool wind caressing your face, right? But the water bodies today are so far from that dream. Because of the polluted water, the fishes can't survive in it. The birds no longer flock to these water bodies as foul odor. But what if I told you that we have cracked the code to rejuvenating these water bodies, so that all of us can one day realize that dream of living near water bodies? So let's actually start with understanding what the problem is first. Um, yeah. So, because of the untreated wastewater or effluents coming into water bodies like lakes and ponds, the first thing that happens is this water is rendered unfit for reuse. So, if the water is polluted, you can't reuse it, right? You can't maybe pump it in a tanker and supply it anywhere. So, the problem of water pollution is affecting the problem of water scarcity as well. Then the next thing that happens is that the fishes and the aquatic life die. Mosquitoes start breeding, which cause waterborne diseases and deaths. The polluted water starts percolating into the groundwater, contaminating it. which when pulled up again causes health hazards. What people often what miss out on, or what misses the eye, is the sludge that gets deposited or accumulated at the bottom of these water bodies, which gives out methane emissions and foul odor, contributing to global greenhouse gas emissions. And all of this is leading to economic losses as well. And we really need to turn it around fast, right? India is already in a water stress zone. Our cities, as per the Niti Aayog report, our cities are running out of groundwater. My city, the city of Indore, Bangalore, and multiple other cities, we know what happened in Bangalore last year. So our cities are running out of groundwater. And water is kind of at the heart of a problem with Pakistan and China as well. And we really need to turn this around fast. But to cater to this problem of water pollution or wastewater, the current steps that are being taken are somehow falling short. For example, the one thing that's being done across the country right now is that sewage treatment plants or wastewater treatment plants are being set up. So now there are multiple problems associated with this. The first being that we've encroached our water bodies, particularly in the urban context, from all sides, and so there's often no space available to set up these treatment plants. But that's a smaller problem. Space could still be found out. Even if we find out the space, our faulty pipelines aren't able to bring enough wastewater to these treatment plants. A lot of these wastewater leaks and contaminates the groundwater. And even if our pipelines are able to bring enough wastewater to these treatment plants, it's a really high capex and opex solution. So huge setup cost and huge cost to maintain it also. And despite all of this, the sewage treatment plants only remove some kinds of pollutants, but not all. For example, most STPs are designed to remove BOD, biological oxygen demand, but they often do not remove nutrients. And if there's nutrients or food in the water, you would still see problems like water hyacinth, algae, and other invasive species. So these are the problems with an STP or a wastewater treatment plant. So an ideal solution could be one that could float on the water so that it requires no space around the water bodies, and it could still serve the same purpose, right? Now we know that we cannot be dosing chemical solutions in the water. Only biological solutions or nature-based solutions, which are sustainable and scalable in nature as well, need to be used, because chemical solutions will cause other harmful effects as well. And there's this another problem of non-engineered solutions being applied today that we all need to take cognizance of. For example, a lot of people set up PVC pipes based floating islands or floating wetlands, which would neither clean the water or stand the test of time. And that's exactly where we come in. So we rejuvenate water bodies with a particular focus on water quality improvement and ecological restoration. And as an organization, what we do is we offer these three products so that we could clean the water towards the bigger goal of water body rejuvenation. Now there are multiple pollutants in the water, right? Come to think of it, almost everything except H2O in the water is a pollutant. It could be all kinds of heavy metals, zinc, lead, cadmium, arsenic, etc. It could be nutrients, ammonia, nitrates, nitrites, phosphates, phosphites, NPK, etc. It could be organic stuff, etc. So we really need to be catering to all of these pollutants and remove them so that our water bodies remain clean and they thrive. Let's say our first product is floating wetlands, which are also known as floating islands or floating treatment wetlands or artificial floating islands. Basically, these are floating platforms with plants on top that you can see, and their roots go down into the water. So these are floating platforms, and their roots are constantly submerged in the water. Now, every living organism, like a plant also, needs air, water, and food to survive. At a water body, there's air and water available in plenty. And what these wetland plants do is for their food, they uptake nutrients like nitrates and phosphates from the water to support their own growth of the biomass of the plant. And they also uptake heavy metals, the zinc, lead, cadmium, arsenic kind of heavy metals. So this is what floating wetlands do in order to clean the water. Floating aerators is something pretty common. I'm sure all of us would have seen fountains and other kinds of aerators as well, right? In fish tanks or aquariums, we would have seen those oxygen bubbles in the water. Imagine bigger ones for water bodies, where the motor or the pump size is 1 HP, 2 HP, or bigger. So the purpose of aerators is to aerate and oxygenate the water. What happens is when pollutants come into the water, the dissolved oxygen levels in the water start going down because the oxygen present in the water is used up to decompose the pollutants that have come in. As a result, when the oxygen levels go down, and if they go down below a certain limit, all of the fishes and aquatic life die. You might be wondering that the fishes, although the water is polluted, but the fishes are still living in it. But one fine morning, you'll come and see that overnight, all of the fishes in the pond had died. So that's why maintaining dissolved oxygen levels in the water is also very, very important um, for the aquatic life, and also for pollution removal as well, and also for things like odor removal, etc. The third solution that we offer is beneficial microbial cultures. It is again a nature-based solution. It comes in the form of a powder or a liquid. It is equipped with a consortia of friendly bacteria and other microorganisms which help remove all kinds of pollutants, right? So you must have seen green color often appearing at water bodies, right? Particularly in the summers. You would have witnessed or seen some smell or odor at the water bodies. Invasive species like algae, water hyacinth, azolla, duckweed, etc. So it does remove those as well. So using our three products, we're able to remove all kinds of pollutants. This kind of a description shows what product does exactly what. Like I mentioned, wetlands remove heavy metals, phosphates and nitrates only. Like there are other kinds of nutrients as well, but wetlands are only good at uptaking phosphates and nitrates. And then another major benefit is with the habitat. So one thing that's often we should be very cognizant of is that water bodies are not swimming pools. Uh, we cannot use chlorine or other chemicals to just clean the water because we cannot be ignoring the flora, fauna, ecology, and biodiversity. We cannot ignore that. Therefore, we can only use nature-based solutions, and that what that will also do is help restore the ecology and biodiversity. Aerators would help improve the DO levels, dissolved oxygen levels, and bring down the BOD and COD levels as well, while releasing harmful gases and odor from the water, removing it completely. And the cultures would first convert. Okay, so what happens with sewage is ammonia comes in with sewage as well, NH3. Now the ammonia first needs to be converted into nitrites, then nitrates, and then into free nitrogen gas, which could be released into the atmosphere. But the plants or the wetlands can only uptake nitrates. So how first you need to convert the ammonia into nitrites and nitrates, and then the plants on the floating wetlands or the local vegetation around the pond or the river could pull up these nitrates. So these cultures first help convert the ammonia into nitrates. It also breaks down the organic pollutants. It reduces the volume of the bottom sludge, the sludge that is accumulated at the bottom of water bodies. And what it also does is it outcompetes algae for nutrients. So another way of looking at this is even the invasive species are living, right? Water hyacinth algae. They also need air, water, and food. Now, air, water available in plenty. As soon as the invasive species get their hands on the nutrients in the water, they start to eat this, multiply, and start covering the entire surface of the lake. All of us have seen how fast water hyacinth or algae or duckweed or water lettuce or similar invasive species, how fast they propagate on lakes, right? We remove them and we see, and let's say if we haven't fixed the root problem, these hyacinth comes back in 15 days and repopulates the entire pond or the river. So what these cultures do is they compete with the invasive species and they remove all of the food and nutrients from the water. So the water hyacinth also now has no food or nutrients left in the water to feed off from, and therefore it starves and dies and not multiplies on the lake. So that's how we cater to invasive species as well. So if you remove the pollutants and the nutrients, no invasive species would be there. Uh, Further, we these all solutions are very easy to administer. So first and foremost, they clean the water from all kinds of pollutants. And then there's this entire angle or perspective of ecology and biodiversity. So for example, fish, they want shade. They come and hide underneath the floating wetlands. Uh, but the birds are smarter. They want to hunt for fish. They'll come and sit on top of the floating wetlands looking for fish to hunt. We've seen ducks laying eggs on top of these floating wetlands in the middle of the lake, right? Because no cat, dog, or any predator can reach their eggs in the middle of the lake on a floating wetland. We've seen non-venomous snakes sitting on these wetlands as well, and all kinds of insects, invertebrates, and all life forms swarm to these wetlands. So, besides the water quality perspective, there's this entire angle of ecology and biodiversity as well. Also, while we are on this subject, let me also point out that what most people get wrong about floating wetlands is that they think plants are doing the treatment, which is incomplete and therefore incorrect. Plants just contribute to 10 to 20% of the treatment. It's the bacterial colonies or bacterial layers, which are called biofilms, that do 80 to 90% of the treatment. So, what we do is that we add biomedia underneath the floating wetlands, the same biomedia that's often used in sewage treatment plants like MBBR, etc. The purpose of biomedia is to provide surface area so that the friendly bacteria, which were naturally present in the water, could come and attach to this surface, and we can maximize this friendly bacterial colony growth. And then they uptake 80 to 90% of the pollutants, and plants just contribute to 10 to 20%. And since it's only the plants are above the water and that's what meets the eye, it's a very common misconception that just set up a makeshift platform with which can support plants. But having bioengineered it, we know that if you add biomedia, your pollutant removal efficiency can go up by more than 5 times. And that's one of our USPs as well. And the third thing that we do, besides water treatment and ecological restoration, is as a side benefit, beautification also happens. So, this is some of our work from across the country. For example, this is the Chief Minister of Madhya Pradesh, Dr. Mohan Yadav, standing on top of our wetlands and planting some plants. So, these wetlands are very strong. They can take up to 800 kgs in float, this particular one. We've made wetlands which can take up to 1200 kgs and float as well. So very strong. That can be deployed on stagnant water bodies like lakes and ponds, and also flowing water bodies like rivers and drains as well. For example, we recently made a very cool new product, which is a floating lotus-shaped solar aerator. So let me kind of dive a little deeper on this point. So we have installed aerators at multiple water bodies in the past. We were facing two problems. The first was the recurring electricity bill, right? Because if there are aerators, they would be powered through the grid, and somebody needs to pay the recurring electricity bill. The other was, since these water bodies do not have security guards in the night, our cables and motors were prone to theft. So at this Pipliyahana Lake that we worked on, our cables of the aerators got stolen thrice. So what we did is we created a floating lotus solar aerator. First and foremost, we powered these aerators through solar panels, so that there's no recurring electricity bill. You can see the working of the aerators and the turbulence in the water, similar to those fish tanks in aquariums. So these they pull up air and put it about 2 feet below the water surface. So this is a 3 HP aerator, and the 12 big solar panels on the side are powering these aerators about at an average 4 to 5 hours every day. Uh, but had we kept these solar panels on the land and the cables would have come into the water, they would still have been prone to theft, right? So what we decided to do was we decided to float these solar panels as well, so that there's no cable coming out of the water, and this lotus-shaped uh, device is kind of floating in the middle of the lake, and now it's not prone to theft. Uh, so besides the 12 solar panels on the side, we also installed 6 solar panels that power a battery during the day, which is kept inside this box, uh, and which powers the lights during the night. And all of this is on auto mode. So the aerators, whenever the sunlight comes, it starts working. Whenever it's dusk, whenever the sun sets, it stops working, and the lights go up automatically. So no manual intervention required. And it's a 3 HP aerator. And what we've also done is we've added petals on the side to give it the look and feel of a lotus, uh, so that it doubles up as a beautification tool as well. And this is about 30 feet in diameter, and weighs about 1,500 kilograms and is floating. And it can take up to 3,000 kgs and remain floating. And just for reference, this is a person here for your reference to see how big the installation is. I'll come back to the thing that I was talking about. And besides these products, we've worked on multiple water bodies across the country. This is the Hauz-i-Shamsi Lake in Delhi, Kannamangala Lake, Bangalore, Pudukkottai in Tamil Nadu, Sabarmati Riverfront in Ahmedabad, multiple lakes in Indore, Bhopal, etc. And the best thing is we've developed more than 18 different types of floating islands over the years. Right from wooden islands, metal islands, MS and aluminium, to FRP based islands and different shape sizes, 1 by 1 meter, 2 by 2, 3 by 2.5 meters, etc. For example, one pond we rejuvenated back in 2019 was this Nalanda Sarovar, which is inside the police training college campus in Indore. And this is how we found the pond to be in. It had a plastic pond liner, and anything that would fall into the pond, the leaves, the branches, would just rot and decompose there, because its connection with the nature was cut due to the plastic. So the nutrients or the pollutants had no way of going out of this bowl, a plastic bowl of rotting water. So we'd installed a floating wetlands, recirculating biofilters, etc., and rejuvenated this back in 2019. Got the award of Water Hero from Jal Shakti for this particular project, and later the award of Jal Prahari in 2022 from Government of India again. We rejuvenated Pipliyahana Lake about 2 years back. And let me mention, this lake has a well-functioning sewage treatment plant. And only the treated water from that STP enters this lake. But despite that, you see these invasive species covering a huge portion of the lake. The reason again here is the STPs remove BOD, the biological oxygen demand, but they do not remove the nutrients, often, most of them. So when there's nutrients or food in the water, the azolla or duckweed that you see on the screen here eats up these nutrients and starts covering the entire surface. But using the wetlands, the microbial cultures, and the aerators, we've been able to keep every parameter within norms, and the invasive species also hasn't come back. And this was actually sponsored through two sources. I actually had started a fundraiser on my marriage about 3 years back, where I had asked my family, friends, and guests to not give me gifts or envelopes, but I'd created an online fundraiser and asked people to donate on that fundraiser, so that that fund could be utilized towards the lake rejuvenation. I was only able to raise a couple of lakhs. So I'd set up these 5 floating islands in the middle with that. But later we got another grant from Ministry of Housing and Urban Affairs under the Amrit 2.0 scheme. And we were able to put in aerators, more wetlands, and dose the microbial cultures, due to which we were able to maintain all of these parameters within norms for more than 1.5 years. And now we have handed over the lake to the Municipal Corporation of Indore. About a year back, we rejuvenated Hauz-i-Shamsi Lake in Delhi. This is a 900-year-old lake in Mehroli, which again used to be covered with these invasive species. And now we've cleaned it completely. Um, and this was through a CSR fund. And recently, we had picked up Annapurna Lake in Indore just 6 months back, which used to be covered with water hyacinth, the typical invasive species, now a menace across the entire India. And the problem with Annapurna Lake was that it has sewage inlets coming in from two sources. It is a rectangular lake, 1 hectare lake, 2.5 acres, and all of the fishes in the pond had died last year because it receives sewage from two inlets and religious waste from more than 100 households every day. So people come and put their puja samagri also in this pond. And as a result, the DO levels had gone down to zero. And one fine morning, when the officials came, they saw that all of the fishes in the pond are dead and are floating on the water. Uh, and that was the case almost 2 years back. And now we've been able to bring the water quality to drinking water standards. Uh, we have brought them under norms. We've brought them under bathing standards. We've brought them under drinking water standards from a state which is completely polluted, that not even a single fish, not even the most survival hardy fish like tilapia could survive in it, to drinking water standards. And this was achieved through these three interventions so that we could remove all kinds of heavy metals, organic load, nutrients, etc. Uh, so these are the actual wetlands installed at that site. This particular photograph is from Pipliyahana Lake that we were just talking about, and that's me standing on top of one of our wetlands. So you see the plants can actually go up to 8 to 9 feet in height as well, and the plants are a beautiful sight as well. Uh, the wetlands that we installed here look like this. These are 2 meter by 2 meter islands or wetlands with 10 crust and 100 planting holes. This particular wetland, raw wetland right now, will weigh somewhere about 150 to 200 kgs. With cocoa peat and plants and everything, it will go up to 350 to 400 kgs. And it's designed to take up to 800 kgs and still be floating. And we have anchoring provisions at the bottom as well, so that you can tie a rope or a chain to it and anchor it from the side or from the bottom through heavy anchors. And these are made of FRP, so that even if there are chemicals coming into the water, the wetland is still resistant to that, and it does not affect the integrity of the island in any manner. And it has a life of greater than 10 years as well. And once these plants will grow up, they'll look really beautiful with the red, yellow, orange flowers on top. We've also installed these grid power aerators there, which pull up oxygen through this vertical white pipe and put it about 2 feet below the water surface. The aerators look like this. With dosing the microbial cultures as well. I think we've covered this. The only thing I wanted to mention here was converting the ammonia to nitrite, then nitrate and free nitrogen gas, and removing this from the ecosystem. So that's very important. Whatever nutrients or pollutants have come into the water body ecosystem need to be removed and taken out. And in this case, they've been removed as free nitrogen gas. This is how we'd set up the floating lotus solar aerator. We'd kept this, we'd first installed the structure, put it down by the crane, it was floating. Then we completed the installation. Looks really beautiful. And also there's this restaurant near the pond. And now we're in touch with the owners of the restaurants there, and they're very happy with the work, because imagine it from the perspective of people whose livelihood depends on it, the fishermen, or let's say restaurants that live that are near this water body. Had this been a dead water body with all of the fishes dead, a stink, invasive species, nobody would like to spend time around them, right? But now the water is at drinking water standards, and people are now swarming to their restaurants looking to take selfies with this lotus in the background. And the fish population is thriving again. People are trying to set up thelas and stalls outside of the lake as well. So this is how we kind of install wetlands as well, put it down by a crane, and then plant these plants. And very happy and humbled to receive media coverage for the same as well. And like I was mentioning, the BOD, sorry, there's a typo here. So the BOD in raw sewage is at 300. It needs to be brought down to below 10 for, as per the norms. BOD should be from 300 to below 10. It should be below 5 for bathing standards and below 3 for drinking water standards. Last to last month, it was at 2.4. Last month, it was at 1.6. So well within norms, well within drinking water standards as well. And the safe limits for nitrates, nitrites, phosphorus, and other nutrients, they are well within norms and actually below detection levels. That's how much we've been able to clean the water. And some before afters of the pond. And we welcome all of you to come visit the lake. We're maintaining this lake currently as well. You can come visit the Annapurna Lake, feel the lake for yourself, take a sample if you want to, get it tested in any lab you want. That's how confident and sure we are of the work we've done. And what we want to do is this to serve as an example to scale up across the country. And how we've positioned ourselves as is basically like we were talking about, there are 24 lakh stagnant water bodies in the country, and a good proportion of them do need rejuvenation or restoration as well. But I individually cannot reach everywhere, right? Let's say, and there are multiple things to be done at these water bodies. For example, there's a role of a consultant. We need contractors as well, and we need product manufacturers as well. So the role that we're playing right now is the role of a product manufacturer, because a consultant and a contractor would be able to work on 10, 20, 50, 100 water bodies even after they scale up. But let's say the products that we make can reach out to tens of thousands and millions of water bodies every year. And that's our vision, that at any water body that's getting rejuvenated, we need to do multiple things, right? We might need to make a boundary wall. We might need to pick up garbage. We need to plant trees. We might want to make walkways, install benches, lights, make good bunds, desilt the pond, etc. So all of these civil works, earthworks, and services is something any contractor, any NGO, or any individual can do as well, but at a water body. And that's what's happening in the country right now, that most of the people are focusing on aesthetics, but ignoring the water quality completely. So people would come, remove the water hyacinth, deepen the lake, remove the sludge, make the bunds better, plant some trees, remove the garbage, etc. But what I think, in my opinion, is really missing right now is a scientific and engineering temperament towards water quality improvement as well, right? Because at a water body, it's water that's most primary. Yes, we need to collect more water. If the water retention capacity was 2 crore liters, we need to bring it up to 4 5 crore liters and beyond. But the water should be clean as well, because otherwise we will be just be like increasing the problem, right? 2 crore liters of wastewater versus 5 crore liters of wastewater. What would you want, right? But if even if another pond has just 1 crore liters of clean water, that's where you would like to spend your time. The government can start generating revenue out of it. People can do recreation, tourism, leisure there. The fishermen's livelihood will increase. The waterborne disease and deaths will reduce. The methane emissions coming out from these water bodies will reduce. The invasive species will stop forming, and we'll be able to cater to multiple sustainable development goals simultaneously. And that's what our vision is. And how we operate is, we do offer these products, the wetlands, Aerators, and cultures, either directly or through distributors. And one another business model, or one model that we're looking to pilot, is a RAS model, restoration as a service, or simply put, a PPP model, a public-private partnership model. Now we know that there are 24 lakh stagnant water bodies in India and countless flowing water bodies. The government simply does not have the budget to restore all of them in the coming 5 to 10 years. So what do? Can we still rejuvenate them without taking funds from the government? So actually, this innovation in business model came at the onset of COVID, because from a business lens, our business had completely collapsed, right? Because the government was running short on funds for COVID relief efforts. There were no funds left for water body rejuvenation. Even the CSR funds, the second funding source for water body rejuvenation, were diverted elsewhere and towards COVID relief efforts. So the water bodies weren't getting a lot of budget during COVID. And that's when we thought to ourselves, could we still be rejuvenating water bodies without taking funds from the government? And that's what we came up with. So our value proposition to the government here is, look, you're the government, you want to rejuvenate water bodies, might not have the funds or the expertise for it, no problem. Just lease the water body to us, let us adopt it. आप तालाब हमें गोद दे दें, तालाब या नदी का स्ट्रेच या कुछ भी, आप ये वाटर बॉडी आप हमें गोद दे दें, let us adopt it. We will put all of the funds required for one-time restoration and all of the funds for maintenance as well in the coming years, and we will not take a penny from the government. But in order to recover this investment, we will generate revenue from the water body only through environment-friendly measures. We will not exploit the lake in any manner, but only do those activities that are environment-friendly. For example, we could set up advertisements on the boundary wall facing the main road. This will not harm the lake in any manner. But if the lake is just off the main road and has a lot of eyeballs, this can generate enough revenue to cover the maintenance cost and also pay back the capex in some years. Some other revenue channels could be fishing, boating, non-motorized boating, setting up a nursery on the land or the dry part near the lake. So through these channels, we could actually rejuvenate water bodies, maintain them without taking any funds from the government. And on the contrary, we could share some profit or revenue back with the government, right? It's a win-win for everybody. So this is also one model that we would like to see scaled up. And to tell you more about us, we're an 8-year-old organization now. We were actually founded in 2016. And for the initial 2 to 3 years, we were just building sewage treatment plants. We were building DVATs, anaerobic STPs, aerobic STPs like MBBR, SBR, etc. And we were giving services for that. Over time, what we've realized is that nobody was into rejuvenating water bodies. Even if people set up their STPs, they're not running it. At least the private entities like colonies, townships, hotel, hospitals, the ones we used to cater, would often set up an STP just for the NOC from the Pollution Control Board, but they would often not run it. And the water bodies were still getting polluted. So we thought, let's rejuvenate water bodies and let's adopt a product-based business model so that we could reach out to lakhs and millions of water bodies every year. Because as giving services and as being consultants, we will be able to do 10, 20, 50, 100 water bodies every year, even after we scale up. But our products that we manufacture here centrally in Indore can reach to all the water bodies in India in a single year as well. And that's what our vision is, that any contractor, any consultant, any government agency be rejuvenating a water body anywhere, they would still need assistance for water quality improvement. And that's where we will come in with our products. And the best thing is we're also constantly innovating. We're trying to make these products out of recycled plastic now, trying to make floating water quality monitoring stations that could relay the real-time water quality to a dashboard and display it there as well. We're also looking to cater to rural water bodies, right? Because they are the bigger in number, and also addressing the problem of the income of farmers in rural areas, right? So their personal ponds, they're what they often own along with their fields. They might have a personal pond or a community or a panchayat pond. These are underutilized resource. Fish farming could be done there, floating farming could be done there, underwater farming could be done there. So we're trying to make floating islands or floating platforms that could facilitate this, and also looking to add tech layers like IoT, AI, etc. with it as well. Uh, Here's our team. So we are IIT Bombay alumnus, me and my co-founder. Dr. Sonam is a PhD from IIT Indore. And we have a great on-field support staff that you see standing on top of these floating wetlands. So these floating wetlands are floating on the water, and these people, our team members, are standing on the water along with it. And just some grants and support that we've received over the years. This year, we also won a competition from the World Bank, the Youth Innovation Challenge. We also won the Nama Bengaluru Challenge. this year, and have been humbled to covered by All India Radio, TEDx, Times of India, multiple media houses, etc. Yeah, so I'll take a pause here with the ending remark that while we focus on water quantity, let's also focus on water quality through nature-based products, because only when the water is clean can we really enjoy it. You and I can swim in it, do boating in it. The fisherman's livelihood depends on it. The lakeside communities won't get waterborne diseases if the water is clean and mosquito free. The groundwater for our future generations will not get polluted. The methane emissions, the most pressing problem of today, is limiting the climate change, the global climate change. Rejuvenating and catering to water quality will also impact controlling climate change. And there are multi-dimensional benefits, and the water body would be transformed back into an asset for each of these stakeholders: the government, fishermen, lakeside communities, citizens, everybody, if we clean the water. So let's focus on conserving more water as well and keeping it clean as well. Thank you. I'll take a pause here for Q&A. Yeah.
Thank you so much, sir. And as you said, that we should focus on clean water as well. We have with us Mr. Setu Raman, sir, who's the chief engineer. I would request, sir, if he wants to share his inputs. Else, if ma'am allows, we can go up for a question answer session. We have got a few questions, so we can take them up quickly.
Good afternoon, ma'am. From Tamil Nadu, Sedraman, Chief Engineer speaking, ma'am. We have 37 districts, 388 blocks, 12,525 village panchayats, in which we have 91,828 MI tanks and ponds we have. Usually, generally in rural area, there is no sewage or grey water or black water entry to the that ponds and MI tanks. If any peri-urban village panchayat or adjoining to town cities, in that area, we are before entering that grey water or sewage water, we are providing the horizontal filter. After treating that grey water, that after that only we are allowing to enter the that water bodies. So majority of the water bodies are being allowed only storm water or rainwater only. No sewage water is allowed generally. If any sewage water coming from villages mean, we will provide that horizontal filter. Of that only it will enter. So that problem is not arising in rural area. Only in peri-urban village panchayats only this problem is arising. Now the Sar Priyanshu are told uh, floating wetlands, floating aerators, microbial cultures are being done. Now only started. In future we will give more number of like this structures. We will follow. We will follow, sir. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you, madam.
Thank you, sir. Yeah. And
Thank
also,
you so much.
so you mentioned about the wastewater entering the ponds, etc. What could also be done is a small section of the lake could be quadrant off. For example, just initial 2%, 3% of the lake could be made into a wetland area or a collection tank or a primary settlement tank. And all of the treatment could happen in this 2 to 3% area. And the remaining 97, 98% of the lake could remain clean, and all of the interventions you need to do for cleaning could be done in this initial 2 to 3%. So that's how, even if you do not have space for STPs, you can still be doing in situ remediation of these water bodies. So thought would just point this out. And this is irrespective of rural or urban. Yeah.
In some places, we have provided small oxidation pond like this. Also,
Yes.
sir. In some places.
Right.
If sewage water coming from village, we will provide small 20-meter dia pond like that for collecting that sewage water naturally like oxidation pond.
Right. Great work, sir. Yeah.
Yes.
Right. Thank you. Yes.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yes.
Ma'am, if you allow, we can take some questions. If you permit us, we can go for some questions and then we'll wrap it up. So we have Mehak with us. Can we please have her on the screen so that she can herself ask the question? Yeah.
Hi, am I audible?
Yes,
Yeah,
ma'am.
you're audible.
Okay, thank you to the organizers and thank you, ma'am, for giving this opportunity. And thank you, Priyanshu, for the insightful discussion. My first
Right.
question is that I really want to know that, like you've mentioned, that nitrates and phosphates are like main reasons why our lakes are having a problem of eutrophication. So, like the intervention, which is the nature based one, which is like the floating wetland. So, for an instance, if we just assume that our nitrates and phosphates they have a concentration of around like 1 milligram per liter. So, what would you want? Like, how long the floating wetland should be there? Is it like the duration should be till the time they are completely eliminated from the water body, or we should still keep it for a longer duration? First question is this, and the second one is that now India is also focusing on using the treated effluents to fill the lakes, and we have few examples in Bangalore. So, firstly, that which industries can effluence we can focus on while filling. And with this question, another one comes in that what's the take of India when it comes to the emerging or the forever chemicals that are present or that may be present in the treated effluents from the industries? Because one of the recent cases that was addressed by IIT Madras of, I guess, Chimbaran Bakkam Lake in April 2024. So these two questions. Thank you.
Got it. Thanks for the question, Mehak. So basically, the first question was about the nitrates and phosphates and how wetlands remove that and how long should we keep them on the water. So floating wetlands are a one-time installation and they'll be there for decades. It is not, for example, microbial cultures is a thing that you'll have to regularly dose every day, every week, every month, and keep dosing it as long as there's wastewater coming in the pond. But the thing with floating wetlands is it's a capex heavy solution with almost no maintenance. And once you set up these wetlands, they're going to be there for 10, 20, 30 years. All you need to do is every year when the plants reach up to their maximum height of 8 to 9 feet, give them a trim, cut them down to again 2 feet in height. And this will have to be done as infrequently as twice or thrice a year only. So once in every 4 to 6 months only. And you need not remove the floating wetlands, right? If you can anchor them from the side or from the bottom, even if the water levels fluctuate, be it a lake or a river, if the water levels go up to 12 feet, they come down to 5 feet in the summers, etc. These floating wetlands will rise and fall with the change of fluctuating water levels. And all you need to do is just have a gardener come there twice a year. So very low maintenance, so you need not remove it. Also, they need to be placed particularly near the inlets because the ponds are often more polluted on the side and more cleaner in the middle of the lake. And there are some proper sewage inlets, and there may be some non-point sources as well. For example, when the rains come, they might dissolve all of the nutrients and the manure and bring it to the lake. And there might be small discrete pollution sources as well. So we need to ensure that wherever these pollution loads are coming in from, need to be addressed and catered to once we clean the periphery of the lake and ensure that no new pollutants are coming in, or even if they are coming, they're kind of treated there and then within the first few meters. If we clean that, we do not need to focus on the middle of the lake particularly. So for example, if there's a sewage inlet coming into a lake, we'll dose the microbial cultures a kilometer upstream in the drain itself, so that by the time the water reaches the lake, the bacteria and the microbial cultures have interacted with the water and it's already clean. And as soon as the water enters the lake, we should aerate it so that the smell gets released, the treatment processes happen, and also put in floating wetlands there near the inlet. Also, what we can do is mimic a sewage treatment plant, how a sewage treatment plant has an anaerobic zone, anoxic zone, and an aerobic zone. The wastewater coming in would primarily be anaerobic. We can aerate it where for a smaller area there might be an anoxic zone which could help nutrient removal, and then aerate the water properly so that there's an aerobic zone and the BOD COD come down as well. And all you need to do is just clarification, like settle down the sludge and let the clear water overflow into the lake, and that's a very good natural system to be maintaining as well. And then we can desilt this ponds every now and then. So that was about the first question. The second, you asked about forever compounds and what kind of industrial effluents could be permitted to come into the water bodies. According to me, it should no industries, period, no kind of industries should be allowed to let their effluents come into the water, as long it is sewage or organic manure or nutrients. It could still be treated, while you need specialized treatment systems for chemicals, right? Because chemical is not one or two or five, 10 types of chemicals. They are countless, right? From forever compounds to alkyls to all kinds of things. So no industry effluent should be allowed to come into the pond, period. Uh, Although a few industries which only have organic waste and within permissible limits, like roughly the contamination load or their intensity or density is morely about the roundabout sewage, can they be allowed to enter? And with the check that they could be organically or degraded and taken care of in the water itself through nature-based solutions, biological nature. Uh, and those compounds or chemicals that cannot be treated through nature-based methods should never be allowed. And no exception should be made to that. Yeah. So then you need to set up an STP, ETP at the industry itself and let them reuse their water there and then itself.
So currently, like in total, when it comes to the emerging contaminants or the forever chemicals, we don't have the prescribed standards. And the point, usually these they contaminate the lakes and water bodies through the non-point sources majorly, not.
Yes.
So I think that it's a high time that we should all be looking for a standard protocol and for a standards for at least these predetermined or like the forever chemicals which we speak of, which is also internationally well known and acknowledged as well that they are even present in our drinking water. So
Yes.
thank you so much for your insights and thank you for the
Thank you.
opportunity. Thank
Thank
you.
you so much, and I completely agree with you that at a policy level, we need to bring in these addendums or changes which also cater to forever compounds. And also, let me be very honest and transparent here. That when I said that the drinking water in Annapurna Lake we've been able to bring to drinking water standards, let me add the caveat that I myself will not drink it. When I say it is at drinking water standards, I mean that the 31 parameters as defined by the Pollution Control Board are all met. But that none of those 31 parameters are forever compounds. None of those 31 parameters are microplastics. So I won't want to drink a water which at least meets these 31 parameters, but might have microplastics or forever compounds. So at least as per the current definition of drinking water standards and those 31 parameters, we have met that. But we need to be updating our policy because the pollutants that are coming in these days are kind of getting more like forever compound is a self-explanatory name in itself. So we really need to update our policy on that as well. I completely agree with you on that. Thanks for the question.
Thank you, Mehak, and thank you, Priyanshu, for answering it. Next question we have from Guru Prakash Shastri. He's not willing to come on screen, but I'm asking it on his behalf. What species of plants are used in the floating islands?
Okay, so these are typical wetland species of plants which are generally found around water bodies, lakes and rivers both. The defining factor of these wetland species of plants is even if their roots are completely submerged in the water all the time, all throughout the year, they can still survive and thrive. What I mean by that is, let's say if a rose plant is and if the roots of a rose plant is completely submerged in water all the time, the plant will rot and will die in some time. But these wetland plants, even if they're submerged in the water for a few inches and their roots are completely submerged in the water, they can still thrive. So, and preferably local species should be used. And some wetland species are found across the country. We typically use Canna indica, also called Kardali in Hindi. Then there's elephant grass, there's taifa, there's bulrush, there's cypress, also known as umbrella palm. There's vetiver grass. So these are the typical species that we use. And these are pretty common wetland plants in India, right from Kashmir to Kanyakumari and Gujarat to Assam, everywhere. So the typical local wetland.
Brahmadat Sharma ji is asking question, and we would request him to accept our request so that you can come on screen and ask directly rather than me asking your question. So apparently he's not willing to come on screen and ask the question. And thank you so much for all the insights, sir. Before
You can
wrapping it
ask
up,
the question, Arpita, on behalf of him if he's not willing.
okay, okay, sure, ma'am. भेजो. His question is that the flood water can that which is not polluted can that be installed in the aquifers to increase the groundwater level through these ponds recharge structures?
Definitely. So basically, once you have cleaned the water in the initial part of the lake, the remaining lake or the pond remains clean. The water that is overflowing from this lake could be allowed to do groundwater recharge and fill up our groundwater aquifers as well. And if we want to reuse this water, we can have a bore well which is, let's say, 100 meters or 1 kilometers away, so that this water undergoes another layer of purification through the soil as it gets filtered through the soil. And then this water could be pulled up 100 meters or a kilometer away, and it's good to use. So like with a basic filtration, boiling, etc., we could actually reuse it. So yeah, the water cleansed through our techniques in a pond could be allowed to recharge the groundwater as well. Yeah. And also the non-polluted stormwater that he was mentioning about, the solids could be removed from that. That could be grit, the soil or the sediments, the grit, along with some leaves or any organic stuff that's coming in. All of the solid waste needs to be filtered out, and only the clear water should ideally be allowed to get into the groundwater. So the stormwater could definitely be used for that. Yeah.
Okay. So it can potentially recharge groundwater.
Yes. Yes.
So we have with us Prakash. Yeah, Prakash Jain is there to ask his question. I would like him to be on screen and ask himself.
Yes, sir.
Hello, sir.
My first question is, what is the percentage of untreated sewage water going into the water bodies in the country?
So the last data I heard, at least from official government sources, was that 70% enters untreated. I am not updated about the number as of 2025 or 2024.
Yeah, yeah.
Uh,
So,
but
is it? So this is one question. Secondly, the most of the cities, they and most of the houses now are having the underground water sources like tube wells and hand pumps. is there any simple system with you if they get polluted? Economically viable, simple procedure by which we can treat this underground water of the tube wells in the houses.
Right. I'm sorry, sir, but we do not have techniques for this. Water is a very vast subject. It revolves around drinking water, wastewater treatment, STPs, building pipelines and infrastructure, water body rejuvenation, etc. Our organization only works on water body rejuvenation. We used to build STPs, ETPs, have stopped doing that completely and never touched drinking water in the first place. I'm sure there would be techniques. It also depends on what the pollutants in your groundwater are. For example, there's this industrial area called Pithampur near Indore. And over the years, a lot of industries have discharged their chemical effluents into the ground. And now there's a very high TDS in the Pithampur groundwater. And I'm sure
Yeah,
there are a few other chemicals, nutrients as well. So depending on that water quality, your solution would depend, right? Think of this as a like a doctor and a patient kind of thing. You need to have
I'm
a
a
test
doctor. I
the
myself
patient.
is a doctor, medical doctor.
Oh, great,
I
sir. So
myself
it's
is a
similar to
medical.
that. Yeah, so you'll get a
So
lab
last
report of
question.
the patient first
Huh.
before
Uh, My
this
last
thing.
question
Yes.
is your sewage treatment plant which you are creating, constructing, is 100% safe? Is it not sending the untreated water into the water bodies?
Oh, so actually, we don't build STPs, but I do. But I'll still answer your question that most of the STPs, at least on the private end, organizations are still building it up. But to be very honest, not all of them are running it. We know we have delivered over 30 STPs, but not even five of them are running it, sir. And these are mostly private institutions, colonies, townships, hotels, hospitals. So that is something, a layer that needs to be plugged in as well, that you just need an STP, but actually run it also. Only then will the problem get solved. I'm sure that as time goes on, we like the pollution control board and other authorities are getting stricter, but still, I don't think so. There's 100% compliance on that yet. So
My last question is from Madam in charge. She said that we should maintain the traditional techniques. So, my question is, was our individual safety tanks better than this huge costing sewage treatment plant? So, for example, in our Udaipur,
I
the
get your
sewage,
I
yeah,
I get your question.
yeah,
My answer is that, when I'm saying that we should also harness our wisdom of the ancestors, I am not against any new technology as such of the STPs. India is such a vast country that you cannot have a one size fit all solution for all the water woes. So sometimes it is cost effective to have decentralized solutions. Like even within the STPs, there are now voices which are calling for in situ constructions of STPs and not a centralized STP, which is hard to maintain. So it is not this versus that. It is this and this, whatever is acceptable to the community.
Madam, see, when we say that 70% of our the STPs are sending untreated water into the water bodies, they are major cause for the pollution of the water bodies. As far as I know, I am a doctor. If a drug is 70% toxic to a person, I will not use it. If it is 70% useful, then I will use it. So my suggestion is that if you create a system, then it should be fully safe so that it should not send any untreated water into the water bodies. This is my
so,
suggestion.
yes,
This is
Prakasha,
we are
let
facing
me.
in Udaipur. We are facing in Udaipur.
Say that
I am
I mean, where have you gotten this data that 70% of
Yes.
sewage water
So,
is
Prakash,
going to?
This I will answer this question also. This is from the question which has been asked in the parliament. Second, from the Down to Earth magazine of this environmental science.
so
Then
let me correct the data here. It's not that
it is
70%
58%.
STPs are not working. It's that while we are setting up infrastructure, we have only been able to set up infrastructure that can currently cater to 30% of the wastewater. It's not about the STPs not being working. It's about the infrastructure being
Of
set up.
the total waste
No,
that is of
I am telling
72,
what I
I
am
think
saying. It is STPs. I am using the word STPs, and I am telling this is the authentic answer given in the parliament, and then Down to Earth magazine. It has said in that also. So that is why what I am saying is 100%. I am working on this water from last 25 years. Though I am medical doctor, but I am my
okay,
this
we would not like to debate on these statistics.
yeah. Anyway.
What I'm only saying is that, if you take my, I am all for cost-effective, low-cost solutions as a personal, opinion. But as part of the government, if the policy is for these kind of structures, then I think there is wisdom and a lot of thinking that has gone behind it. It is also in a way cost effective because you see it caters to a bigger area, and it is easier to maintain, and if it is centralized, then sometimes it is easier to maintain a centralized system than decentralized systems by communities, because they can fatigue can set in communities. So there are all kinds of complications. As a esteemed doctor, you would be understanding. So let's not make it a this versus that debate, but yes,
No,
we
madam, why I'm
basically
saying this
we are
thing?
realizing the importance of decentralized local solutions. And I have to rush for another meeting, so I would request Arpita to wind it up. And thank you to Priyanshu. Thank
Excuse me,
you to our chief engineer from Tamil Nadu. Priyanshu, my only question to you is that. How do you say that whatever you are doing is innovative? Because there have been so many other, initiatives of floating wetlands. So it's not that the initiative has originated with you, but what is your innovation in all the products that you have made, or why should one adopt it? In that sense, as being the original product and being suitable for, because we have thousands of people coming with lots of clean water technologies, and even at a much lower cost also. So why do you think that, the clean water initiative is the best?
Yes, the reason we are the most innovative and the most comprehensive solution in terms of wastewater treatment is that we have understood the market first and then built over it. For example, there were floating wetlands manufacturers even 10, 15, 20 years back. But what most of them were getting wrong, for example, was they were focusing on just plants. We understood that it's the biofilms and the biomedia and the bacterial colonies that will do the treatment. And hence we manufactured our islands in such a manner that per square meter, our removal efficiency become 5 times. Plus,
So
we
there
made
is a
sure that
caveat. There is a caveat that I would like to say, that we are not in any way promoting clean water technology, or we are not in any way promoting Priyanshu. It is just that, he has had something interesting to say, and since a fact proposed it, we invited him for our conference, and I think your presentation was good, but that doesn't mean we are promoting your technology. So that is one caveat I would like to, really say out in front.
yes,
Except that, yes, we were looking for, nature-based solutions, and we were looking for speakers on nature-based solutions. Most definitely, and I think your presentation in that sense really helped us understand
Yes,
nature-based solution. But there are myriad nature-based solutions out there in the market. So, National Water Mission does not promote any specific technology or any specific company. So that is the caveat I would like Arpita to note. Yes.
absolutely. Yeah.
Madam,
So,
submission.
uh,
Madam,
हाँ
there
चीफ
is
let's.
इंजीनियर जी जरा जल्दी बोलिए आई हैव अ मीटिंग एट 4:30 so I'm already running late by 4
one
minutes.
second, madam. That Dr. Prakash Jain asked you two questions, madam. For people, simple technique one, and another one, septic tank. Is it possible? Both things are possible. One is first, the answer is chlorination, madam. Anyone can do chlorination. After chlorination, anyone can consume. That is first. Second one is septic tank with the chalk pit. It will survive, madam, without any
You know,
treatment.
I am all for that.
Yes,
Why should we have STPs at all? Why should we have cleaning technologies? We should right from the beginning arrest the development of polluted water right
Yes.
from our house. So that is a larger philosophical question. But the thing is that, be it as it may, this is where we stand right now. And so we have to grin and bear with, and we have people who are coming forward with interesting technologies which we would like to disseminate and share. Till we go to the extent where people themselves become so conscious that there's no need for technologists or even us. So
Yes.
disappearance of us would be the greatest, gratitude to water, that we don't need water specialists. People understand that water has to be kept clean. But
Right.
that will take some time. Until such time, we have to bear with technologies, whatever it may. Yes, over to you, Arpita. Thank you so much.
Thank, thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you, Priyanshu ji, and thank you, sir, from joining us from Tamil Nadu directly. And as ma'am said, the entire aim is to promote community participation. The aim of telling that technology can be useful, but as ma'am suggested, that the innate habit of not promoting pollution is in itself a big thing which will avoid water pollution and improve the quality in itself. Thank you so much for joining in. We'll shortly meet you in 59th edition of Water Talk with more such interesting concepts. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Thank you, everyone. Namaste.